Why stiffness accelerates aging. I'm Javi Kayut, neuroscience researcher, yoga teacher, and health enthusiast. Today we'll talk about why stiffness accelerates aging. Most of us, we have the relationship between stiffness and aging is not quite clear. Oh, the aging process brings stiffness. That's a lie. Actually, what brings stiffness, and most of us know, it's how we age in the body that we have. Most of us, we think that rigidity is stiffness. It just affects how the body moves. But in fact, it impacts how the body ages as a whole. Your body ages through adaptation. Think about it. The entire aging process takes a lifetime, and during that lifetime your body adapts to the overall range of movement, stimulus, environment, everything that you expose your body and your brain to. So the system itself ages accordingly to adaptation. If we offer less variety, less stimulus, less overall movement to the body, then the body and the brain, they adapt to that. And this is when we start to see that the aging process itself, it's not just losses, but it's this accumuli of adaptations through a lifetime. Stiffness reduces the overall capacity of the body to adapt. Because to adapt, we need to be able to learn and to reorganize the system based on stress and perturbation. What happens is, a stiff, rigid system is not able to fully adapt to the stimulus that it will receive. Because simple things can get in the way. We're talking about spraining your ankle. A mobile, not stiff body recovers much faster. A rigid body, it feels like a wave, but not a sound wave, a shock wave. Think about it. A mobile ankle joint, when you spray it and there's mobility to it, what will happen is there will maybe be damage to the tissue, but the damage itself is more controlled in that joint, in that specific place, because it has mobility, because the impact itself flows through the joint and through the entire biomechanical chain above it in a much easier way. However, if there's rigidity, then you gotta see it as a shock wave. You spray the ankle, that sprain in the ankle goes up, hits the knee, hits the hip, everything takes a lot longer to recover. So in simple terms, this is how it happens. We need an adaptable body that in face of perturbation can actually learn, can actually create more resilience. So stiffness narrows the body's natural capacity to adapt. I actually did a little note in here because this is quite important. And this is where it connects to real neuroscience. So what happens when stiffness gets to the body? The brain itself depends on sensory information, movement, and variability of stimulus, of input, like we were saying in this overall idea. Our joints are one of the most important central inputs that the brain, neural inputs that the brain can have, because they are everywhere. It's not just the knee joint, but it's the entire sensory structure all around it. It's all the sensory endings that will be inside the knee, outside the knee, on the skin, everywhere. So this is why the body craves it. And then in here, when joints diminish the overall range of movement, and this is already mainstream in science, less sensory information, less overall adaptation of new neural chains, and our circuits, they get more predictable. So what happens is, when our joints diminish their overall range of movement, the brain itself gets more, in a sense, predictable. And then when that happens, we not only allow negative patterns to sink in, but we have compensation going all across the body. This is why it's so important. So rigidity creates the cycle of aging. Rigidity in your joints impacts your brain. Your brain then impacts how much it trusts the joint. So this entire circle just keeps going and going and going, and creating more adaptations, but that are on the negative end, that create compensation, that make your body age faster. The system enters the self-reinforcing loop. And then most of the times we try to take ourselves out of there by putting more force, more strength, more muscle-related activities into a system that is already craving adaptability. There's already craving variety of stimulus, joint stimulus, movement. and then we go in there and we put more gym. What will happen is a natural process of faster aging because you just reinforce this bigger chains of movement that are muscle related. You don't actually get to the joint. So the body doesn't age because it lacks time. The body ages because it lacks varied stimulus, because it lacks this intelligent movement approach, not just a fast, beautiful movement, but towards joint integrity. We need, as a whole, as society, to understand the importance of restoring joint function and not only demanding from the body without thinking about how the body itself impacts the brain and the aging process as a whole. When we think about aging, mostly we see aging in the brain, aging in the mind. But in fact, aging begins at 21, at 24, at the very first time that you encounter a trauma, life, injury, or pain, and your brain decided that that movement was no longer doable, was no longer achievable. That's when aging started. So we as society need to see our joints as the main focus of the aging process for all of us. And when that happens, you will see that the aging process will change completely. Javi Caio, thank you so much for being with me today, and I'll see you in our next video.